Belarus's capital is perhaps best known in the West for its brief mention on an episode of Friends, where it was referred to as being in Russia. Anyway, here are the stadiums and arenas of Minsk, Belarus. Where better to start than at Stadion Traktor? Because if there's one thing that Belarus is known for, it's being a Russian puppet. But if there's another, it's potatoes. But if there's another, it's the tractor manufacturing industry. They actually make tractors that sell for around $60,000-$70,000. Yes, that is about a tenth of the high-end Western-made tractors, but still. On top of all that, the club that plays here was founded as a team that represented Minsk Tractor Works. Much like an old tractor, the 70-something-year-old Stadion Traktor is a little rough around the edges. But at least the design is somewhat interesting. You've got the grass berms, the trees, and the colourful main stand. Yeah, it is actually a rather nice and fittingly bucolic stadium. It's just a shame that they insist on ploughing the field every couple of weeks. Restless tractor syndrome is a serious issue. Minsk Arena is home to two top-tier hockey clubs, but they don't play in the same league. How does that work? Well, Dynamo Minsk competes in the KHL and International League, whereas Smoky Minsk play in the domestic league. Apparently this Centung video board is the heaviest in Europe. Not the biggest, but the heaviest. But don't worry, the roof should hold the weight no problem, as the tension of the cables holding up the roof is monitored 24/7. I've always said that cable tension monitoring doesn't get mentioned enough these days. In fact, I've never heard anyone mention it until now. The arena's website claims that this is the largest arena in Europe. It's not. Is that an innocent mistake or propaganda? I don't know.
Belarus, home of Minsk Arena, capacity 15,000, biggest around. Cable tension system, a marvel to behold. It measures tension 24/7.
I know that's supposed to be the Kazakh national anthem, but it works for Belarus as well. All joking aside, it is a top-notch arena. I'll quickly mention the velodrome next door, as well as a speed skating rink. Stadion Dynamo. If you're a regular viewer, you're probably tired of me saying it, but one thing I love when it comes to buildings in general is a combination of old and new. And there are a few better examples than this. The contrast is stark, as it should be. So you can clearly see where the old stadium ends and the new stadium begins. It's really just a wraparound facade that is the only visible remnant from the old stadium, which was originally built in the mid-30s. I'm sure the local football fans were glad to see a bit of the old stadium retained. However, there is one aspect that they probably wish had been gotten rid of, that being the track. But it has allowed the venue to host some big athletics events, such as the 2019 European Games. The final tally of those games was topped by Russia, with Belarus right under them, and then Ukraine in third. So, using the law of probability and the results from the 2024 Olympics, we can determine that the US will invade Japan in 2027 and use China as a staging ground. The reason why this peculiar building known as Chovka Arena came into existence is that Minsk was chosen to host the 2014 World Ice Hockey Championships, and so in addition to Minsk Arena, they built this smaller one to host the event. It cost around 450 million of the local rubles, which is like 130 million euro, which is like 137 million US dollars, which is like 107 million pounds, which is around 450 million of the local rubles, which I think is pretty good value. It might be a weird thing to say, but I like the framework up top, which is done up in a lovely shade of red. When combined with the blue and white seats, it represents the colours of Yunost Minsk, the club that calls this place home. Oh, and in case you were wondering, Yunost means youth. Stadion Torpedo. Since Tractor was founded by tractor builders, you won't be surprised to hear that Torpedo was founded by an arms factory. To be honest, I assumed they would have just made the entire mannequin within the same factory, but no, just an arms factory. In actuality, it was an automotive plant that did also make military equipment, such as torpedoes. You may have noticed that I'm talking about the origins of the club rather than the stadium itself, because there isn't all that much to say other than it's comfortably the most rudimentary of the stadiums we've seen. It's alright though. Minsk Sports Palace. This arena might be relatively small, especially given it's called a palace. However, it clearly has had a big impact on the city, as it actually appears on the old 5 million ruble banknote. The currency has since been revalued a couple of times since then, and the highest denomination is now 500 rubles. This is where Dynamo Minsk played before Minsk Arena was built, which is a little surprising given the stark disparity in the capacity. It has slightly more than 1/5 of the capacity of Minsk Arena. I would have said that it is less of a palace, more of a pavilion. And those were the Stadiums of Minsk. It might seem strange, but my favourite of the lot is actually Stadium Tractor. Actually, nah, I'll go with Stadium Dynamo, due to it being superior in almost every single way. Subscribe if you want to. Thanks for watching, have a good one.